All right, let's call this meeting to order. Christian, do a roll call.
Yes, I will. Let's see, Daniel's not here tonight. Benjamin Hurt,
Here.
John Kilstrom,
Here.
Mindy Prosky. Can you hear us, Mindy? Mindy is on Zoom. She is here. Andrew Rathbun,
Here.
Kenneth Ingstrom,
Here.
Michelle Hellstrom,
Here.
Council Liaison Andrew Labonte.
Cool. First thing, I think we need to approve last month's meeting minutes. Someone want to make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, and I'll do roll. Ben,
Yes. Excuse me.
John,
Yes.
Mindy, if you can hear us. Mindy. She's unmuted. We'll come back to Mindy. Andrew,
Yes.
Kenneth,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
and Mindy, can you hear us? Okay, I'm going to chat box her, but we're going to move forward.
Business from the board. I think the one thing that we talked about last time that we should follow up on was the conversation about locations to consider for the new TSP. And I know Dan said that I think we were awaiting some clarity on how we can communicate outside of the meeting. And I think that we could. I think that the clarification on that is that Dan can email all of us, but we cannot email each other, and we have to respond separately to Dan. So I will prompt Dan to ask everyone, but to have those locations of, intersections or locations of concern and get those to Dan, and we can compile that for upcoming discussion about the TSP, which it looks like we'll talk about a little bit later tonight. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it on
Yes,
your-
we will.
Okay.
I'll give an update on the TSP.
Excellent. Other than that, that's all of the business I can think of. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about tonight?
I just wanted to, since Chief, you're going to talk about the TSP, and we can have input into that at that time.
Yes, absolutely. We'll talk a little bit about talk a lot about the TSP and what's that going to surround, what it looks like moving forward, and the ideas that have been brought to that we've shared over the last couple of years, and how we can implement those when we don't necessarily need to change the TSP.
Sure. Okay. More to come on the TSP tonight. Is there anything else you guys got?
I don't have it. I don't have anything else.
Next is, go ahead.
Thought we could discuss is that letter from the Welter Park neighborhood that was emailed. I don't know if everyone looked at the letter. It was in the email.
Is that about the adult care facility? Is that that one?
Yeah, it's going in or proposed, some kind of adult care, and it's governed by state regulations, not city regulations. But one thing that they brought up was traffic concern, which is always a concern when development goes in. And they were specifically concerned about the intersection of Windsor Drive and Glen Echo. And so I just drove by there this afternoon to look at it. And the only thing I saw that popped out to me as a problem is cars parked along the road on Glen Echo, kind of interfering with the sight distance. And I don't know if we can do anything about like restrict parking immediately adjacent to the intersection or not. But that's one thing that I noticed could be done to improve. So when someone's leaving Windsor and they want to turn left or right, they can look towards McLaughlin and see traffic coming.
Is that a question or statement? I'm just.
Well,
I can add. I mean, I can add to that. Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with clear vision. on that. And we've had co-complaints regarding the dealership there, parking all their cars and such, and there's been violations there that we since corrected. And then you have the construction on, with it Mildred? I believe that's Mildred Street. But I do agree that there's some curbing that could be painted so that there's clear visibility. And I want to say it's 30 feet from the intersection, I think, for the yellow curbing that we can look at. But with regards to the actual neighborhood and the concerns that they have, the city is working on those issues as we speak. So, and I believe we have a meeting set up already with the neighborhood. So and we're not going to know exactly what traffic impacts are going to be. I don't even know anything about the size of the foster home outside of it just being a house. Excuse me.
Yeah, my reading of the city's response was that it's a 4-bedroom house now, and they wanted to add 5 bedrooms, which seemed like a lot, but it was going to house 5 patients or residents, which I think is maximum the state allows under those conditions. And so the only thing I would add is, like you said, 30 feet. I was thinking 2 car lengths, which is about 30 feet. And to me, that makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
I have one issue, it's just to get it into the record. It's parking for the business that's going to go into the old Gladstone Library. I've heard, I'm not quite sure exactly what it is, but it sounds like it's an extension of the food pods over in Oregon City on 14th Street. And this guy's going to put in some pods, or it's going to be
Well,
something, I'm not sure what it is.
yeah, so I think the renderings went out. I think it went public already. I'm not sure. I only know of one food cart type thing there. The rest of it's family friendly. I'm sure there's ideas of different things. I don't think it's all finalized yet, but I'm not sure. But there'll be more to follow on that. And with regards to parking, I think this parking is going to be an issue just for high density housing anymore with the AUDs and everything else because they're not requiring parking. So I'm not sure where this is all going to land outside of, well, police department will likely get a lot of calls. So,
Has diagonal parking been looked at in the downtown area?
I don't know exactly where that's landing yet. So I know the parking is being looked at for the revitalization project. But I don't know that we're that far apart where it's an absolute yet.
Any comment?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Councilor Labonte, just want to mention too, that library property, there are things happening. In fact, Thursday here, there's a recommendation coming in from the Blue Ribbon Committee, which many of you have probably looked at or been familiar with, or read all the details, or not. But basically, yeah, they're gonna, rehab the old library. And in fact, there'll be, as of now, the plan is 1 cart. And exactly right. They're gonna make it nice inside. They've done another project in Canby at the old library in Canby. So if you want to get an idea as to what the project is like. So that was the one bid that came in, and the city will vote on that officially on Thursday. But it seems like it'll be a good thing. And the parking question has come up, as it always does. So yeah, diagonal parking is interesting because I know, being in this group for a number of years now, the amount of extra spots that you get out of that isn't necessarily huge. Is my understanding. It depends a lot on the angle that you're going for with the diagonal, which has some variety to it. So in some renderings, I've seen maybe 1 to possibly 2 spots per block. I could be wrong on that. But as interesting as diagonal parking may be to help, it might not be like an absolute slam dunk in the end. So just to throw it out there. But
So in short, that meeting, you'll probably get a lot more information than I can provide.
Thank you. Yeah, the new library, it's got diagonal parking. It seems that you can put in about 8 cars in that limited space there.
anything else?
The other thing I was going to add is, Chief, I know last time when we had talked about the traffic stats, there was that conversation about can we filter it by time of day and other things like that. I have not gotten a chance to do that. I will probably have something to do. I have some on the books to do that in early March, but we can do that. So hopefully next time we'll have a better opportunity to share more detailed information like time of day, conditions, and stuff like that, and flag some trends there too. So
Yep, love
Something,
love to see it.
Yep.
Love to see it.
Cool. Anything else? Oh, yes, that would be great. Thank you.
Mindy, do you have anything to add?
I do not, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. You guys got anything else? Over to you, Chief.
All the way over to me. So I'm gonna drop the transportation system plan to the bottom. And make that the last thing we discuss. But the speed reduction on Arlington, Lieutenant McNabb was here with me. And he and I had the opportunity to meet an individual named Nick Perkis. Is anybody familiar with that name? He lives on Arlington, and he's wanted to partner with us because he feels like speed reduction on Arlington would be beneficial. He lives kind of across the street from Cross Park. And his intent is to work with us and help us with data on time of day, a lot like what we've talked about, time of day, specific locations, et cetera, with regards to speed enforcement. As you know, we're out there doing speed enforcement constantly, but we can't be everywhere at once. But he's willing to make a purchase. He wants to make a purchase of a piece of equipment that would gather that information. It's not going to issue citations. It's not going to infringe on anybody. We're not taking pictures of anybody, but just gather data on speed, time of day, day of week, et cetera, when we could potentially put our resources out there that would be more effective. A lot like what we're talking about with traffic crashes in certain intersections. So we're working with him on that. It was a great conversation. And we're going to move forward with that. And once we know more about it, he's getting this piece of equipment from, I want to say Denmark. And it's kind of inexpensive, but we're going to work with him and see what he does. He was willing to come in and meet with me and talk for about an hour about speed reduction on Arlington specifically, as because it's an ulterior street. I mean, it's get from McLaughlin up to 205. So we're going to work with him and see what we can do and partner with him a little bit. He also has a video. He does a lot of YouTube kind of work for a profession. So we might be helping him. He might be engaging with us more and some different activities that we can really push out some media relations on traffic safety and so on. And those are some ideas that I'd probably come to you guys too and say, I need some ideas and how we're going to do this. And maybe y'all want to participate with us and do some of these things. So we're looking further ahead on how we're going to do this and what we're going to do, but putting stuff in place to make that happen. So it was a great conversation. Any questions on that?
Yes. Will that be donated to the Gladstone Police?
The equipment?
Yes.
No, that'll be his equipment.
But
the data he receives, he'll share with us.
what kind of liabilities?
There is no liability.
Okay.
There's zero liability, zero liability on our part because it's just data, it's just speed data. And we may put something out there at the same time that we have a public works that it's not visible to ensure that see if there's any differences between that data. So just compare.
So the reduced visibility of this equipment could lead to more accurate results, you think, versus knowing, oh, hey, there's a speed collector coming up, I ought to slow down.
Yes. Yes.
And then if you receive data that rose to a threshold of, hey, we might want to change the speed here, would you take other steps to do your own investigation or further collect data, or would that be kind of the benchmark that in itself?
Yeah, so it's 25 miles an hour there regardless. I mean, we live in a residential community. So lowering the speed is potential an option, but enforcement is probably the bigger option for us.
Oh, just identifying when's the
Just
best time for you to
identifying
have a
best
okay.
times and stuff.
That makes sense.
Especially with our traffic grants, which we're applying for again, which we'll talk about in one of the other meetings, because that's really our traffic team. For some of the new people on the board, we don't have the resources to put out a full traffic team plus send patrol officers out there. So what we do is we augment that with overtime, and that's paid through by the state, ODOT, and Oregon Impact. So that's where we get those monies from, and that offsets our costs, which doesn't hit our budget. So it still allows us to operate.
Who has the authority to change the speed limit? Is that a police department decision?
That might, no, that's not a police department decision. There would be a process to go through that. I'm not sure whether it would be state, county, or just a city decision. I've not had to do that. And I would recommend not doing something like that. It would have to be very severe for us to do that, because all we would be doing at that point is just creating more violators. So it's no different than stop signs. If we're not strategically putting stop signs in the right location, not saying that we have in the city, but there's a potential where you just increase more violations in different areas. Any other questions? Council?
That's beautiful.
Monthly reports. Anybody have any questions on the monthly reports? I'm going to give you a few stats, specifically traffic stats. The latest January 26 traffic stats is we stopped 336 vehicles. That's up 3% from last year at the same time period. We issued or charged 142 of those violators versus 106, which is 33, almost 34% higher. Parking citations decreased by 8.5%, essentially, 160 to 175. And we have only arrested one less DUI for the month. Not that we're not trying. So it just either they're slipping through or people are not getting drunk and driving.
Chief,
Yeah.
the parking citations, where are the majority of those occurring?
Is it Meldrum Bar still? It's still mostly Meldrum Bar. We do get some parking issues in residential areas. Our focus right now is when we get a lot of complaints, say we got a lot of complaints for head-in parking on cul-de-sacs. So we start getting those complaints, and although we have issued citations for those, we're changing up and doing more of an educational push than an enforcement push. I understand getting a traffic citation is worse than getting a parking citation is worse than getting a traffic citation. People get very offended by getting a parking citation. I'm telling you. And I hear about it, trust me. But people have been parking in cul-de-sacs a certain way forever. And when we're going to change something, I'd rather be giving warnings and before we start implementing enforcement. So we're taking that stance. So when we talk about parking citations, they come in all phases. So there's so many different areas of concern.
May I ask with the head-in parking? So we're talking like perpendicular parking in the cul-de-sac?
Yes,
visually?
yeah. So if you
Okay.
just drive right in, so if
Got
your
it.
house is in the cul-de-sac and you just head in, so you're just kind of all over the place rather than up against the curb. So.
Are they mostly enforcing complaint driven, or is there self-initiated parking in the
Some of
areas?
some of it's been self-initiated, especially if it's hazardous. A lot of it's complaint driven, except if you're at Meldrum Bar or an area where you're required to have a parking permit. So.
I did have a question. I was just just out of curiosity. I noticed the police blotter changed from each sergeant having a section describing calls that happened on their watch to just one chronological call list. Just wondering why that change happened, and then also, is it just extra? What rises to the level of something that goes on the blotter? Because I'm assuming that's not all the.
No,
you
no,
brought up.
you're kind of getting the highlights really of it. And what we try to do, and actually Christie puts together the monthly report, but at my direction, we wanted to reimagine what that looks like. And so instead of putting individual sergeants, because one sergeant may not have hardly anything that really rises to the level that, okay, this is going to pique interest, right? Versus other sergeants that may have more. So we're just combining all of them together. And frankly, I think it looks more professional anyhow. I think Christie's done a great job with that. But it's still the same sergeants. It's all the same stuff being put in. So, but what rises? Some of the behavioral health stuff, we're not, some of the significant stuff we're putting in, but we go on a lot of different calls. And the list could be 5 pages long if we wanted to, and it's just boring. It's just repetitive, boring. Our job is 95% very boring and 5% extremely exciting, and it's all caught up. So I hope that answers your question. And some of it is, I guess, this kind of looks good. So did I answer that correctly for you? Okay, good.
I do like it too. It's more readable with when it was broken up into different sergeants. It takes you out of chronological order,
Yep.
So you go, oh, January 7th, and then we're back to January 1st. So yeah, I liked it. I was just curious.
No, we just tried to reimagine it and tried to shrink it down. And then people were missing different things out of the monthly report. So we put a bunch of stuff back in. So it kind of looks like the old report, only formatted differently with different colors. So. Any other questions on that?
Not on that, just old topic was a discussion of last meeting about the crosswalk at Oatfield and Webster. Currently, there are three lights coming off of Webster. Left turn green arrow, green light, green light. If that right green light was coordinated with the crosswalk to go red, then that would stop cars turning when they can't see around the corner.
In front of pedestrians?
Yep. I saw it again yesterday. People crossing the road and the car come around the corner.
And there's no update on that. I have not got an update on that. So.
Thank you.
If I may just chime in, and reviewing the last meeting, and that you guys spot on with that intersection. That's tough. I go through there all the time as a pedestrian. It's that stone wall. You've perhaps all been there. It's a really tough spot. So, and the signage is all weird. There's like different generations of signage for some of the crossing, the placards and stuff like that. So even the alignment of the crosswalk, as I'm sure you guys mentioned too, the actual sidewalk is off. It's kind of funny, if not dangerous. So yeah, I'd like to see, I think it'd be a valid thing to think about as we move forward with that intersection, because I do know that it's in the transportation plan from 2017, some realignment, some other things there. And that one has kind of gone under the radar for a number of years now.
So let's move to the transportation plan. So we were, as a city, we were getting ready to look at the transportation plan, meeting with ODOT personnel to talk about this. And what we found based on our transportation plan, that there's still, 2017 plan is still valid. It's still valid. And some of the things that we talked about didn't require an adjustment to the transportation plan, which is very nice, because the city saved a ton of money in redoing, because it could have been thousands of dollars to have to go back and redo the transportation plan. But as a result of all this and the findings, we got the findings stated from the state is that, one, we don't have to update the plan. The plan is still valid, so we can still look at that plan and address some issues. And some of the things that, like the striping on Dartmouth or And I know that was brought up in the last meeting, as I understand, and I'll touch base on that just a little bit. And some of the other things like the Arlington McLaughlin intersection. There's already plans. The problem with these plans is ODOT is creating these plans and we've seen what they want to do and it makes total sense what they want to do with crossing and changing of lanes and restriping to make it a lot more safe. So there's no left turns or right turns when pedestrians have the right of way. It's only through traffic, right? So those types of things. But I'm at the whim of ODOT, and I can't give you a date. I know it's in the plans, and I wish I can tell you by this time next year it's going to be done, but I can't have, but I'm not going to, because that quite possibly could turn out to be a lie, and I don't want to do that. So, but we know those plans are in place, and we know it's set, and it's set to do that because we had meetings with them. It's a matter of when. We looked at, city administrator and I looked at, as they're getting ready to slurry seal Dartmouth, East Dartmouth, right? I mean, how many years have we talked about shrinking that?
Yeah.
And,
all right.
and shrinking that and trying to, and we're talking paint, right? That's really what we're talking about. But as I sit here and say we're talking paint, there needs to be some sort of engineering with that. And so identification of parking, because we don't want to take parking away and then put bike lanes and then put the east-west lanes in there, really shrink that down for a traffic, speed calming sense there, which I think is going to be very, very helpful. And we're looking at doing that. So we're having conversations about putting something together. So when it is slurried this spring or summer or whatever, that we can put paint out there and we can get that going. But also we have to be prepared to talk about the marketing piece of it. And I'm going to probably need this group's help in making sure everybody on East Dartmouth from Oatfield down to Portland Avenue understands and realizes that we're not taking any parking away from you. That's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to calm it. And there's a lot of residents who we've met with and that have come to traffic safety who are encouraged by it. Because especially when Public Works has just really brightened up the crosswalks, crossing over Dartmouth, going north-south. So those are still in the plans, but I don't have a date. But
May I ask a question
Sure.
regarding that? And just, when we go, let's say this does happen and we go in to put the striping in, is there going to be a situation that might trigger where we need to like paint the curbs at the corners in a sense?
there may be. There may
I'm
be.
not saying for better or worse.
For
but-
better or worse, there may be, but I know that as they're looking at lining Portland Avenue and doing the stuff with that, they're going to also focus on East Dartmouth. So, I'm very optimistic. I wish I could make things move faster, but I'm just a police chief, and that's not my world to work in. But the Public Works Director and I have a great working relationship. So, and he understands the importance.
I live on East Dartmouth, so and I definitely would appreciate it and can help spread the word to other East Side Dartmouth people. Yeah, because even when you look at selling your house and stuff, how big that street is and wide it is, it's a deterrent to some people who are gonna it lowers the value of the home to have people go, well, my kids are walking and there's so even just that, the buffer, the visual, the cars looking and feeling slower, I think.
No, I agree. I mean, one former city council person goes, "Yeah, chief, it's a runway." Yeah, it's pretty big. That's where I think the trolley car or something used to go up and down. But
Yeah, it reminds me of the episode of Seinfeld where Kramer adopted a highway and took out one of the lanes and widened it. And
that's wide.
yeah, it feels like a 2-lane. It really does.
So, and you can get there and then it also, helps the, not that, but the bicyclists, we don't have to worry about them. Speeds are getting slower, easier to deal with. Ideally, that's That's the idea behind everything, right? And then, as we talked about stop signs and such, and as we move into stop signs, it's, where do we put those up? And we have brochures suggesting, and you've talked about stop signs, is it worth putting stop signs up at every intersection and create faster speeds between them? Potentially. Or is it being more strategic and figuring out what's the best way to do it? And I know we have a couple engineers up here that I might be seeking input from. So,
Open for questions, comments?
open for anything. We can keep going. I'll try and talk, but to close it on the TSP, it's going to be as it stands. Any recommendations that we may have, we can push through council but everything has a dollar sign about it, and we can try and figure out, at least plan and identify what needs to get done.
I really appreciated getting this document. Wasn't expecting it and it showed up and that's great. One thing that kind of threw me is rules. This thing keeps mentioning rules. And is that in the regional transportation plan, all these rules they mentioned?
There's
Like-
always rules.
Yeah,
There's
don't-
rules to
don't-
everything.
Don't violate 850 or,
Yeah. And that's what, that was,
30.
that was a clarification is do we need to make a change to the traffic safety plan to do some of the things like we're talking about here in the transportation, or the traffic advisory committee, right? The answer to that question is no. If it comes that, then we'll have to deal with that down the road. So,
Page 6A6 under transportation options, it talks about automobiles and transportation stuff. Metro is cutting services, so that may be something that we will have to look at because they're cutting frequency and bus lines and all this stuff. So I'm not sure how that will affect our plans. But just a couple of things that could affect the traffic in Gladstone is the Abernathy Bridge. Now it's going to have 3 lanes, but it is going to push the backup over to the other side of the river instead of this side of the river. I still think people will be using Gladstone as a bypass to get to the 9 entrance onto the freeway to avoid all that backup coming this way. So just throwing that out as a comment. And then also on 205, they created a bus lane, and I had to have no idea what that is intended for or what it would do to Gladstone's traffic at that intersection there of, exit 11. It's coming,
yeah,
going.
I don't know.
I don't know. They're just comments as to what I've
Yeah.
observed and seen and have no idea what effect it's going to have.
I don't think it's going to affect traffic too much because I think the intention is just for the buses to be able to drive on the shoulder when there's rush hour traffic. So it's really only for them to stay on schedule. So I don't think it's going to affect the traveling public too much.
That would be my assumption also, but
Thank you. Any other questions for me? I don't know that I have, unless you have other questions regarding our monthly report and statistics on our monthly report. I think that my focus is really twofold: speed reduction, continue all our traffic safety missions with regards to speed reduction, and deal with distracted drivers as far as traffic is concerned, impaired driving, and of course seatbelts. Those are what we focus on, and those are what our grants really require us. Traffic enforcement for the new people on the board has always been, since I've been here, one of the big priorities for the city, for the police department, and will continue to do so. And again, I'll repeat this because it's the way I grew up. It's not about punishing and writing everybody a ticket. It's about change of behavior. So we're about 50% of stops versus citations. So not everybody we stop gets a ticket. I don't know that that would be appropriate to take away the discretion from the officers. Someone can learn from the stop, great. If they can't, then maybe they're getting a ticket, so.
Chief, do you have an update on crosswalks on 99? You said
Yes, I do not. I do not. Ever since there's been an issue with the ODOT funding, I'm losing track, so, and I've heard nothing regarding it, but I'd like to get it. They've reduced the speed to 35, so.
One of the things I was going to talk about, which I think you alluded to, you were talking about the Arlington project.
Yeah.
And I think when we talk about these opportunities to improve things, we talk a lot about cost. And I was just curious, how much, talking about the realignment of that intersection and the signal with it, how much do you think how much money do you think that project would cost? Like, if you had to guess. To talk about like realistically what it takes to do any sort of infrastructure, put a shovel in the ground project.
well, he'll have to have an engineering study. This goes through county.
Yeah.
It's not Gladstone. So you're going to have an engineering study to look at the light and figure out how they can interface it and get electricians and rewiring and new bulbs and new this and new that. And you'll probably look $10,000-$15,000 pretty easy.
That intersection is $13 million
There you go. That was off. Yeah.
for everything, for design. Yeah, for Arlington.
Talking about the
Yeah, and
Webster and Oatfield. Well, the Arlington. Oh yeah, that's
I think that's just like I was looking at, I was pulling it up on the STIP, and it says it's supposed to go to construction in 26 at some point, but that project has $13.1 million for a single.
that's before overrun.
And frankly, they've already done some work on that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work already been done. So they're already invested in it. It's a matter of getting it started.
Yeah, and I think I just want to like highlight when we think through opportunities, I think you alluded to this, like the stuff that's important that we can do that will make a difference is the cheap stuff like paint. Like you want to do a painting project, that's $15,000. That's $20,000 that the city can do. Anything else where you put a shovel in the ground, you're in for 6 digits, easy. And then it just grows exponentially from there. So like when we think about those issues, right, especially because we're not updating the TSP, there's not a lot of opportunities to highlight those types of projects and then go get hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars to do those types of transformational things. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of money and time. So it's just something to think about when we talk about locations and projects and solutions and stuff.
I appreciate that. And it takes the partnerships and relationships
Yep.
to get that going. So, and it's important. But what I will say is this, is we've talked about these for almost 7 years now. May will be 7 years for me here. We've talked about these things, but we're talking about them like they're on the books and there's hopefully in 26 it's starting to kick off. Before we were talking about, we don't know if we can get this done, right? So there is glass half full.
Yep.
Still, and that's the way I'm pretty optimistic about all these things getting done. I just wish I can give you a time frame, and I can't.
Yeah, in the engineering terms, it's cost benefit ratio or return on investment, whatever you want to call it. So
I won't share that number. So, any other questions for me? I'm happy to try and answer the best I can.
One question I have for you is maybe not a tonight question, but a next time question, which is you just mentioned you've been here for 7 years now.
Yes.
I would be curious to get your input next time, so you can have some time to think about it, on things that you have seen over your 7 years that have made things safer in the city. What are the things that have been implemented or the projects that have been done and things like that? But like, wow, in looking on a larger time scale, it's easy to look in like months and think in days and months and weeks, but when you look on a large time scale, the small things and the big things that have gone in that you've seen that big change in safety and increase in traffic safety. Be curious to get your perspective on that. So
Yeah, I'll give you the perspective of it.
Okay.
And Chrissy's been here, so she
there you
can,
go.
and she's been she makes sure I stay on track. So I'm sure she'll make sure that I have the answers for these. But I believe in foundational pieces. To start with, and I won't answer your question. I'll wait for the next meeting, but I do believe in foundational pieces. I believe that if your foundation is strong, you're going to be very successful. If it's built from sand, it's going to fall apart. So
And good foundations take time.
they take time.
And you may not be there to see the full completion of that, but you could at least start laying those pieces early.
Yes, and those foundations to me are culture.
Yep, absolutely.
So. Anything else?
Good. No community input?
No community input.
All right, that's good. Someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
I second that motion.
I'll call roll. Ben,
Yes, please.
John,
Yes.
Mindy,
Yes.
Kenneth,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
did I miss, oh, Andrew, did I call Andrew?
Yes.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.